With that, it's time for the third FinTech Startup Challenge for the day. It's the FinTech Startup Challenge 2017 powered by ICICI Lombard. This challenge poses a question on IoT around property and logistics with a plan that seeks a solution that can forecast, detect and monitor risk in real time and make interventions to decrease risks in logistics, inventory management, property upkeep or plant management. Before we take a look at what the finalists have prepared for us, let me introduce you to our jury, Mr. Girish Nayak, Chief of Customer Service Technology and Operations at ICICI Lombard, Mr. Soumitra Narayan, Vice President, ICICI Lombard, Mr. S.A. Srinivas Murthy, CEO, APEITA, Andhra Pradesh Government, and Mr. P.S. Srikanth, Investment Director at Hyderabad Angels. Judges, if you're ready, I'll call the participants on. Our first challenger is Team FEDO, that's F-E-D-O. Can we have you on stage? Team FEDO, your time starts now.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are very thankful to you to let us here, even while our product is slightly different from the challenge you are offered. Thank you. Even it is slightly different from the challenge, nevertheless, our product could be useful for the risk detection. So let's move to this is me and my co-founder, Arun. Both of us have more than a decade of global experience working in process excellence, analytics, and artificial intelligence. So this is a case which we have. We have everything about in life is measurable. Be it intelligence, we have IQ scores, we have social adaptability found through EQ, financial discipline measured through your credit score, but about health, is there anything? So here we introduce the question about how healthy are you? So here we introduce FIDO score. FIDO score calculates your risk for lifestyle-related diseases, and this is done taking into consideration your basic data. Now, how this score could be used is different. Different stakeholders can use it for various purposes, like government can use it for planning and taking care of the welfare measures. Companies can use it to measure their employees. And here specifically, insurance companies can use it for finding the risk and the premiums. So take it through the technologies behind and how this could be used for insurance. I'll leave it to Arun.
Thanks, Prashant. Thanks, everyone, for this opportunity. So we saw Prashant telling us about FIDO score being a health score, and it can be applied in the insurance sector. Now, how does this really work? What we do is we pick up behavioral, demographic, and lifestyle data from people, run it through a machine learning platform, and then generate insights out of it. And those insights are basically insights depending upon your risk for various lifestyle diseases. And these are also aggregated at a population level, and not only at an individual level. So let's see this in action, right? So the first question that everybody will have is, how do you get the data? So we have three specific sources of data. One is people can enter it manually. Second is we have an API through which insurance companies can connect to us via one-on-one or batch mode. And then we can also integrate with wearables. So this data is then processed through our machine learning platform, which generates insights about an individual. Individual insights are then aggregated at a population level to generate insights at a population level. Now, what do I mean by insights at an individual versus a population level? Individual, well, You can see an individual and say, in this specific example, this guy that we are talking about has 33.2 BMI, which means he's overweight. So there could be some engagement done to kind of reduce his weight. He's a smoker, so we could do some engagement to reduce his smoking habits. At a population level, this entry can really create information like how many smokers do I have in my risk pool? How many people are at risk for diabetes or for a cardiovascular disease probably in Bangalore or in Karnataka or for that matter Andhra or Vizag, and should my underwriting process be the same? So based upon this, we have found 3 different use cases that I want to run through, like how can an insurance company really use this information? So the first thing is develop new products. So when we say new products, right now the insurance, the way we underwrite it and the kind of products that we have are more blue sky products wherein you say family floater or an individual policy covering specific segments. But now what we will allow is with the risks that you have for different diseases, you can start launching new riders or new additional covers. And this will start broadening your risk pool to people who are not originally covered. Like so somebody who was at a higher risk for diabetes would technically not be as part of the risk pool. But with this, somebody will buy a lower price policy as well as buy the diabetes rider so that you are increasing your overall number of people who are actually coming in. So that is how you would actually be increasing your overall revenues as well as number of people enrolled. Pricing, I just touched upon this. You could be much smarter in terms of retail pricing. Instead of doing it based upon an individual, you could actually, based upon the risks that an individual has, you can price it differently. You can increase the price for an individual versus decrease it for another at different levels. The third use case is more related to group consumers. I know there is a lot of ifs and buts about group consumers and the pricing and the claims that happen in the insurance industry today. Here's a use case, like we have 500 people of 3 different industries. All of them have had the same claims and all of them have the same average age. Should the premiums be the same for all of these 3 industries? Would it be applicable from an insurance underwriting standpoint? Well, FIDO believes no, because one of the industries is a high-stress job, one of them is more in a manufacturing sector and toxic job, and the third one is a relaxed job with low stress. So what we believe is that when an insurance company ties up with FIDO and our risk analytics platform and our machine learning platform, you can start understanding which segment of your population is at a higher risk versus which segment of your population is at a low risk. And then you can leverage that into your pricing for different groups as well as individuals. Moving on, the final piece, and we touched upon this engagement a little bit earlier, like we can engage people. Now, in today's world, many insurance products are giving incentives to individuals to join gyms, to join yoga centers. They are giving some rewards, but are they really tracking them? I mean, okay, so an individual joined it, but what else? What next? Did he really utilize it, and over time, did his health really improve? Or rather, from an insurance standpoint, did his risk reduce? But what FIDO will do is, over time, if an individual's health score is increasing, his risk is going to reduce, which is measurable, and that can be kind of utilized to further incentivize the enrollees. To sum it up, so FIDO Advantage has 2 core dimensions, the revenue drivers and cost drivers for insurance companies. We provide insights into population health. We help companies develop new products, improve interactions with the end consumers, and allow for strategic alliances with wellness providers and or other suppliers. Roadmap for an insurance company, if they tie up with us, we at first, to start off with, will start improving their underwriting process. And then over time, if you look at it, over the course of time, when we kind of institutionalize the entire health scoring platform into a company, we are looking at doing real-time adjudication. In the interim, we will be pretty much doing underwriting, developing new products, improving the claims processing through analytics and machine learning. That's all we have. I'll open it up for questions now.
Okay, you talked about developing a score, but that's a point-in-time kind of measurement. So does your model also throw up the probability that the individual will develop, say, diabetes or hypertension or any kind of
Exactly.
mobility after a period of time? Because a lot of people are healthy when they come onto the platform, but they kind of are already at high risk of developing diabetes or hypertension at a later date.
Absolutely. So the score is a function of one's risk for 13 different lifestyle diseases. So it is actually built out of the risk. Like if a person has 25% chance for diabetes and 30% chance for cardiovascular disease. So based upon these two equations itself will start the score is built. So the score is a function of all of the diseases, all of the risk for the different lifestyle diseases. Now if a person's risk increases, his effective score will decrease. That will be very evident on the score front.
Yeah, but do you give the breakup? I mean, you have a score of
We can show the breakup in detail to people who want to see it. Yes.
There was this bit about you said you develop it to adjudication. I mean, you start off with the scoring of health. How do you take it to adjudication? That's a completely different
Great
ball
question.
game on
Great question, and I had expected that. So remember one thing is the adjudication at times kind of fails because of flags that come up in the claims, and which kind of lead into your claims falling into a pend queue or a denial mode, right? I mean that's pretty much what happens. Now from a health scoring platform, and this is more of offshoot of our analytics platform and less of the health score platform. What our analytics platform would do is it will start helping you start, if you look at the claims, first we will start setting up the analytics platform, then we'll start building predictive models, where you'll start forecasting what type of claims will come in from which geography and what dollar value would be the claims for. That is the predictive model setup, and then we'll start setting up the fraud detection, which will be a function of our health score of an individual tied up to his government authorities, tied up to the overall risk versus the claims coming in. All of these three put together will kind of help in the adjudication of a claim, where you kind of tie up the benefits to the claim that has come in and enable you to process the claim.
So I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So the predictive model, does it also give us a time when it will happen?
It's a good question. So at this point, we are doing it as a point in time snapshot. But over time, we can build time series models based upon looking at, okay, if we have historical data, we can build a time series model saying, okay, what is the likelihood in the next 2 years or the next 3 years? So we could always build that. It's just the lack of data for us from on a time series front that we could not. But if we connect up with an insurance company, we will have the data to do it.
So on the data front, currently you have some amount of database on which obviously you are learning. How much of it is India specific?
A lot of it. We spent most of our last year collecting data in India. So it's a good part of around 7 to 8 months. We launched an app. We got about 50 to 60,000 downloads on it. Then we went and did surveys through emails, and then we did residential campaigns to collect data. That is one aspect of the Indian data. And then the data.gov.in also has a bunch of data out there, which if you clean it up and kind of start looking at it properly, we have been able to leverage it.
So how are you sure about the authenticity of this data? Because when you're saying your machine learning algorithm, it's only as accurate as the amount of data that you feed and the accuracy of it, right? So how are you?
So the authenticity of the data is because there are two aspects to it. One, data that we collect directly. Like we conducted surveys, we went into residential complexes, we did all of the surveys for them. So we captured all of the data elements on our own. Right? So the data is authentic. The real people walked in and gave us the data. And then we launched an app wherein real people we had a stringent sign-on mechanism wherein they have to do two-step authentication to get it. So they had to give that. So that data is definitely authentic. Then the government of India has published data on the site. Now, while the data is not absolutely clean and very usable, we had to kind of scrub it a lot to kind of make it usable for our stuff. This is not only India data, but we also had a lot of US data. So we kind of merged both of the two segments. We started off with the US